You know, if you're a manufacturer interested in additive manufacturing, well, you've got a lot of different technologies to choose from. I'm with Sarah Levy. She's User Services Lead with Formlabs. Sarah, we hear a lot about 3D printing, additive manufacturing. Manufacturers now, of course, are starting to really look at it seriously in ways that they didn't before. It used to be just the design engineers have a unit up in the front office, and they're not really, I think, well versed necessarily in the different technologies that are out there. Tell me about what the options are and what they can do with it.
Sure, absolutely. So at Formlabs, we have two different technologies we're working with. We have stereolithography, SLA. This is the Form 2. And we also just released the Fuse 1, which is our selective laser sintering printer. So I'll show you some parts from both machines. So with the Form 2, we have a range of different materials that might be suited both for prototyping but also for some small batch end-use parts. So with the Form 2, we're able to print in our durable material, simulates polypropylene. So it's got some nice elongation, a low friction surface. We have flexible, so this has a really nice kind of a texture that can be used for a host of different applications, as well as our tough. So the blue here is meant to simulate ABS, so really nice under wear and tear. And what's great about stereolithography is the parts are totally isotropic. So as opposed to filament where in the X and the Y they're really strong, but in the Z they really sort of lose their steam, our parts are solid, so really have those mechanical properties all the way through. So we're also really excited about the Fuse 1, our selective laser sintering printer. Really some really nice mechanical properties. This is fused nylon powder. So really different kinds of things are possible. This was printed all in one part. And we can print things like this, like a chain, again, printed all in one part.
Sarah, that's some remarkable parts there. It's historically, of course, in the old days, the bad old days of this technology, you're using PMMA, using materials that would let an engineer create something for a functional fit check or as a display piece, but not something you'd actually want to, for example, tensile test or use.
Right.
So in this case, you're talking about materials which actually are true analogs of commodity polymers.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So we've spoken to a lot of folks, let's say you're an LED manufacturer and you want to do a custom end cap for an aluminum piping. You could use the SLA or the SLS materials for that kind of an application. Fixturing for sheet metal manufacturers, all sorts of things. So
do you see a movement or advantage to one versus the other for the kind of things we're talking about?
Sure. So we really think about these technologies as being complementary. So it really depends on what your application is. Particular mechanical properties are more suited for SLA printing, other mechanical properties for SLS. The build volume of the Fuse 1 is a little bit bigger than that of the Form 2. So depending on really what your use case is, you could use one technology or the other. And a lot of folks will end up having both and using the prints for one in certain use cases and the prints in others for another.
Sarah, what about mold making applications? What if the end user wants to make the part, but they don't want to make the part out of the SLS or SLA resin?
Absolutely. So for more high production parts that you want to use, can use the Form 2 to actually create molds. So several different mold processes are possible. Over here we've got some injection molding molds that were made from our clear resin, as well as some high temp parts that are being used for thermoforming. So sucking down that plastic right over the high temp mold. And the vents are built into the mold there as well.
And so approximately how many parts could you make a dozen parts from a mold like this?
Absolutely. We have a white paper on our website that shows the use case for injection molding, and we use just a pretty simple desktop injection molder, and we're able to get 25 parts out, easily. So could probably even go beyond that.
Sarah Levy of Formlabs says SLA, SLS, either one could be ideal for your application.